jealousy, fear, rage, disappointment, hurt, anguish. All of these emotions are felt so intensely. And in this era in which we're living in, we're finding that a lot of people are having a range of emotions in a way that we've not been accustomed to. Well, we're going to talk about your emotions and how it connects to your stress levels in just one moment. Hi there. You are inside of Stress Talk Live, the place where we help women over 40 to live healthier lives through strategic stress management and solution focused self care. I'm Marcyline Bailey, and I am your host today. I'm so glad that you chose to join me this afternoon. Did anyone watch the women's Final Four? Wasn't that exciting? All of the games were fabulous, and those women played their hearts out. I have to give kudos to Caitlin. Hey, she is a fabulous player. And also give kudos to the South Carolina team. That was the team that I was cheering for because hey, we're right next door to South Carolina, so I had to cheer for them. But those women played fabulous games. They're superb athletes. They're sports people. They are people who we should be proud of, all of them. So, what's happening today? Wow, we have a topic this month that I think will be, hey, I think we need to talk about. Last month I told you we were going to focus on anger, and then I decided no, we need to talk about the range of emotions that we're feeling and how that range of emotions affects our stress levels. I think this is very key, and I think it could be a game changer for you all. So, before we get started, as usual, I'm going to ask you to like, follow, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants. Please, I'd love for you to follow some of my content that I add to social media. Also, if you want to learn more about ML Bailey Consultants, you can always go to this link. It's my tap link. It has links to lots of things, including my newsletter. And I I actually stopped. I put my newsletter on hold. I won't say that I stopped. Um, I stopped it, but I put it on hold because I wanted to be able to update it, and I have. So this month, this is the first issue of the new and improved Stress Talk in print. As you can see, I have a new header, and I've also added some information about my private practice, what I'm doing. Here are a few pictures. If you haven't received it, you'll see some pictures of my new office. I moved in February, and I had fun decorating it. Had a little help from, I had a lot of help from my family, my husband, and our younger daughter. Um, Also, wanted to let you all know that I am now part of the Alma Network. So if you are in the state of Georgia and you're looking for a therapist, check out my Alma profile to see if I would possibly be someone you'd like to see. I also had the privilege of presenting at the Via Connects Women's Conference. This was the second time that I've presented, and it was fabulous. I included the official Via Connects conference video in the newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed, you might want to, so you can get a chance to see that conference video. Also, I hosted a booth at the Black Family Expo, and this expo was coordinated and hosted by the Brunswick chapter of the Links Incorporated. And here are a few pictures of me at my booth. And yes, Doc McStuffins was there. I love Doc McStuffins, and she was there. So I had a chance to have a picture with her. My booth focused on those stressors that we experience on a day-to-day basis, and I provided some instant stress relievers as well. Beyond my immediate community, I also participated in a social conference conscious summit that was organized by Tamara Dopwell, who is a social worker and entrepreneur in Brooklyn, New York. She is also a colleague and someone with whom I've collaborated. What's next? What's next? I earned my certificate as a mindful meditation teacher through Dharma Moon and Tibet House, and I'm also taking a meta mindfulness meditation teacher training course. So, in addition to being able to teach mindfulness meditation, I will also be able to teach the meta practice. So, that's all in my newsletter. So, if you are interested, I want you to sign up. Sign up at this link. Also, here's my website for those of you who want to just find the website to find out about the services that I offer, as well as a little bit more about me. So let's get to the topic at hand. Our topic today is 3 fierce steps to tame the emotional monsters that keep women stressed. I This is again a topic that um, I think one of the things that is important to me is that I am providing you with information that is not just surface level. Um, you can go to Google, you can use your search engine, and you can easily find information about how to relieve stress, right? I like to go deep, and I encourage the women and the men that I see to go deep. Let's go deep to find out the root cause of what is making you feel the way you do, what is making you behave or react the way that you do. Stress is not different. It is really not different. My goal is to teach you to look for the root of what causes you to stress. What is the root? And then we can work through that. That's where I am. That's what I aim to do. And that's what I'm hoping that I'm doing when I come on every Sunday at 7 p.m. And I always like to have feedback. So if I'm not doing that, let me know. You can always reach me. You can find my email address on my website as well as through the links. So please let me know if I'm not meeting that challenge, because it is a challenge for me to help you to go deeper, to understand what is how you think, what you believe, and what you're telling yourself repeatedly, how that affects your stress levels. So today we're really talking about emotions, and I wanted to talk about, there are 3 steps that I'm going to share with you that I believe will help you to tame those emotions. And I call them emotional monsters because sometimes when we are experiencing emotions, it's so overwhelming. It's like we're like, oh, like a like a monster. Oh, I'm coming to get you. And either we're expressing that to others or we're experiencing it within ourselves. So I wanted to give you 3 steps that will tame those emotional monsters. Um, but first, as always, I want to give you some information. Let's talk first about what emotions are. Okay, let's deal with that first. What are emotions? Okay, so according to the American Psychological Association, emotions are complex reaction patterns and that involve experiential, behavioral, as well as physiological elements. So what does that mean? First of all, emotions are complex, right? They are very complex. There's nothing simple about our emotions. But it's not just a single emotion, it's not just one emotion or a distinct emotion. We're talking about patterns, and we're talking about how those patterns come together. So, according to the APA, emotions are complex, but they're a complex reaction. And not only are they complex and a reaction, it's a pattern. We have established patterns of behavior and reactivity that is very evident. Okay, basically, when we experience an emotion, it's because we've been exposed to some stimulus. Something has caused us to experience an emotion. For example, I may watch um, a movie that causes me to feel sad. And so I start crying, right? That's a an outward expression of the sadness that I'm experiencing. But there's a stimulus, the movie, and what I saw in the movie caused me to be sad. Um, Another example, from I came home from work and I decided that I was going to eat a pint of ice cream. And I knew that I had dulce de leche ice cream in the freezer, but I opened the freezer and I look and my ice cream is gone. I may experience anger, right? And that anger is a reaction. Now, that anger is a reaction to the ice cream being gone, but it may be also part of a pattern of reactivity. So the APA is calling emotions a complex reaction pattern that involves experiences, behavioral, our behavior as a result, and physiological elements. There's a change in our physiology. And I'm going to talk about that um, in just a bit. Emotions are also conscious mental reactions. We're very aware. I knew that when the ice cream was gone, I was angry. How? Because I could feel it. I felt the anger. When someone cuts you off as you're driving, you become angry. Or some of us I become angry. I won't say that you do because maybe you have more patience than I do. I become angry. And I know that I'm angry because I feel it. Where do I feel it? I feel it in my body. There's a physical change. I also feel it in my mind, because I have a thought about why did they do that? How could they do that? They're so silly, they're stupid, they're blah, 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 right? So it's conscious. I'm aware of it and I feel it. The feeling, of course, comes from the emotion. Again, it's physical and it's mental, what I feel. And there may be a behavioral element, like I might put my fist up. So there's a feeling of the movement of my arms, my hands. The other thing that we need to be aware of as it involves emotions is that when we feel it, we may also be feeling or experiencing um, memories, core beliefs, and history that cause or influence that emotion. This is very key, I think. Ruth King, who, let's see if I have her book here. Excuse my back. I don't have her book in front of me. Ruth King is a professor who writes about race. And one of the things that she talks about is how our history influences our beliefs, and it also influences our outlook and how we react to things as well, our reactivity. So when we are feeling an emotion, when we're conscious of our mental reaction, we have conscious mental reactions. They can be influenced by our memories of things that have happened to us in the past, our core beliefs, things we grew up believing because of our surroundings, because of the influence of the people around us, because of our environment, and our history. Our history meaning the history of our parents, our grandparents, their grandparents, and our ancestors that have been passed down through our families and our families' behaviors and our families' beliefs systems. So emotions are conscious mental reactions that we feel. We're also conscious of it because we can name it. Remember when I opened the refrigerator and the ice cream wasn't there, I said, I'm angry. And I could say that. I knew what it was. I knew what that experience was. I was experiencing anger. So we can call it what it is, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, whether it's elation, whether it's happiness, whether it's whatever it is, we can name it. But we can also describe it using words or pictures. That's how advertisers are so skillful because they use words and pictures to grab our attentions and to evoke emotions. So, emotions are conscious mental reactions, but we experience them subjectively. They're also subjective because although they result from a specific event or an object that we can point to, they're also based on our own individual interpretations and perceptions. Now, I could come home and see that the ice cream is gone and not be angry. I could say, it's no big deal. I didn't need it and I didn't want it, right? I could just say it's no big deal. Or I could be angry. I could be frustrated. So emotions are based on our individual interpretation and perception. So I'm talking about emotions. They're conscious reactions, they are subjectively experienced, and they also cause physiological and behavioral changes. I talked about that briefly. What I shared with you is that um, physically, when I was cut off, I went, "What's wrong with them?" I threw up my hand. Sometimes people give you the finger. Sometimes people, brush you off, or they, make gyrations, or they um, change their facial expressions when they're feeling a certain emotion or experiencing an emotion. But emotions also cause physiological changes. And that's what I want to get to next. What are those physiological changes that emotions cause? Well, one of the things that I want to share with you is that when you are experiencing an emotion, whenever our emotions are active, the stress response is active. That's also very important. So let me put up a slide here. There we go. There. And I want to talk about the autonomic nervous system for just a few minutes. So, the autonomic nervous system controls our involuntary physiological responses. So, our heart rate, um, our skin, perspiration, tearing, um, the airways in our lungs, our colon, our intestines. So, that's what the autonomic nervous system controls, and it controls other things as well. Okay. But what happens is when we experience the stress response, and the stress response is a physical response to an unspecified stimulus or change. When we experience the stress response, our body changes instantly. There is an instantaneous shift in what happens. Our heart rate increases, it beats faster and harder. Our, um, our blood flows quicker, but it flows to those parts of our bodies that are important for keeping us safe, for that are important for survival. So our extremities, our legs, and our arms, all of a sudden, they become, super strong. We can run faster, jump higher. For those of you in my age group, you know that is a slogan from a commercial for PF Flyers. Sorry. But getting back to the stress response, I always get excited when I talk about the stress response. So the stress response kicks in, and that's really our fight or flight, right? So the autonomic nervous system changes our body. It goes through instantaneous changes. Well, when we are experiencing emotion, remember I said that when our emotions are active, the stress response is active too. So when our emotions are active, the stress response is active. So if I'm angry, I'm in fight or flight. If I'm surprised, I'm in flight or flight. If I am frustrated, I'm in fight or flight. If I am elated, I'm in flight or fight. We don't interpret it the same way, though, do we? When we're angry, frustrated, or bored, sometimes when we're angry or frustrated, we know that our heart is beating harder and faster. And we know that we're ready to fight because we're in that mood, we're in that place, we're experiencing that emotion. But when we're happy or elated, or when we've just been surprised because we were just asked to be, we were proposed to, or we got the job we wanted, or we just had a birthday party in our honor, the same thing happens. We have a similar or the same physiological response. So the emotion doesn't matter. It's just that when the emotions are active, we're in fight or flight, whether we call it that or not, because the stress response is active. So so that's where the physiological change occurs. It's because emotions evoke the stress response. Second thing that I want to share with you is that we express emotions, and those are the behavior changes that I'm talking about. I talked about grimacing. I talked about shaking my fist, but smiling, laughing, sighing. Those are behavioral expressions of emotions. That's how we show people how we feel. That's how we demonstrate what we are experiencing. Not only is it important for us to show people and demonstrate what we are feeling and experiencing, it's also important for us, for our own well being, to do the same. So, I've talked about emotions, what they are, their conscious mental reactions, their subjectively experienced, they cause physiological and behavioral changes. Let's talk, and I've talked about how they're connected to the stress response, meaning how they affect stress. So, how can we tame these monsters? What can we do to tame the stress monsters, the emotional monsters that cause us to be stressed, so stressed? Number one, we need to acknowledge our emotions and our feelings. So often we suppress our emotions, and when we suppress them, it causes emotional, mental, as well as physical damage to us. So we want to acknowledge them. Remember, I said that we can call them what they are, we can say it. There was a study that actually demonstrated that when we named the emotion that we were experiencing, it decreased our stress level. So it's important for us to name it so we can verbalize it. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm hurt. I'm sad. But we can also say, I'm happy. I'm elated. I'm ambivalent. I'm bored. We can also say those things as well. So, first, one of the ways to tame the emotional monster, we need to acknowledge our emotions and our feelings. The second is we need to recognize those patterns. Remember, the APA called it an reactive pattern. It's a pattern of reactivity. And how do you do that? First, we look at the types of emotions that we experience on a regular basis. We also look at the intensity of emotions. And then we acknowledge and we look at our behavioral responses as it relates to those emotions. And then finally, what causes us to experience those emotions? We want to look at the triggers. And as we look at the triggers, we want to go deep. When I saw that the ice cream wasn't there, was it really about the ice cream not being there, or was it about something else? And this month, we're definitely going to go into recognizing the patterns. We're also going to talk more about how to acknowledge the emotions and feeling at your emotions that you feel. The third step is to assess the impact. And what do I mean by assessing the impact? Basically, what I mean is that does it help when I experience these emotions and I act upon them, or I react as a result of them, does it help, hurt, or hinder my life functioning? Does it help me? Does it hurt me? Does it hinder me in some way? But not only that, does it help, hurt, or hinder others? Does it help, hurt, or hinder? Secondly, does it help you to create the lifestyle that you truly desire? I mean, we want to get away from doing things that um, do not feel good and that do not lift us up, right? So when we are experiencing these emotions and these emotional patterns, does it help to create the lifestyle that you desire, or does it hurt it? And the third thing to assess when we're assessing the impact, does it create peace in your life? The Buddha said the absence of peace is suffering. As you all know, I am in a Buddhist studies course, and it is very eye-opening. It's a lifestyle. It's not a religion as I'm learning it, but it can be a way of life. And that's something that I'm learning. The absence of peace is suffering. We suffer when we're not at peace with ourselves, with others, and with our environment. So these are the 3 steps: acknowledging our emotions and how they make us feel, recognizing the patterns, as well as assessing the impact it has on our lives. So, we have been talking about for the last few moments 3 fierce steps to tame the emotional monsters that keep women stressed. Again, I talked about what are emotions, how emotions affect stress, as well as 3 steps to tame those emotional monsters. Over the course of this month, we're going to go deeper. As I said, we're going to take those 3 steps and we're going to break them down even more so that I can give you action steps and activities that will actually help you to carry those things out. Because once we tame those emotional monsters, we can really get on with our lives and we don't have to suffer. We can have peace. Woo! What do you think about that? That's what I'm working towards. Peace. Well, that's all for now. Again, I'm so glad that you joined me. I look forward to seeing you next time here on Stress Talk Live with Marcyline. Take good care.